Good morning. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. So how's December going for you? New month on the end of a crazy year. You know, when is it not a crazy year? You know, sometimes I'll say, well, it's always something. That's because it is. There's always something. You know, we're all kind of spoiled the past 10 years. And you know what we talk about on this show for new listeners? It's live financial news talk radio. And we talk about money. We talk about ideas that will help you improve your financial decision making, help you win with your money. But, you know, does it always go smooth? No. If you're investing in the market, does that always go smooth? No. There's ups and downs. You know, it's just like, here's a question for you. Think about that. What's your favorite seasons of the year? I'll tell you mine, easy. Spring and fall. I don't know if I have a favorite. If I said, okay, you can't pick two, you got to pick one, then I'm going to say spring. It's not dissimilar, but, you know, spring isn't perfect either. You know, at times it's windy, you know, that phrase, April showers bring May flowers. Well, it might well rain a bunch. The fall has, you know, hurricanes for all of us on the Gulf Coast of the country and Panhandle and so forth. So there's no perfect, but, you know, when we dislike, I had somebody the other day talk to me about winter and said, you know, and they moved from someplace else, and I moved here to get away from the cold. I said, oh, you really can't escape it completely. You know, heck, I've been to Disney World where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting out of the park. It's too cold. And I even had a coat and stuff a few years back. So with that said, life always gives us challenges there, and that's what we kind of have to adapt and adjust to the flow. And it's just like seasons of the year, things are going to change, and there's different problems that come along with each season. And the markets, investing, saving is kind of like seasons of the year. And, you know, sometimes people will be like shocked when there's market volatility or the markets move down. What? You forgot this happens? You think this never happens? That's why the amount you put to risk should be subject to what your tolerance is. And look, there should only be a certain amount of downside unless you do something like those cryptos, FTX, and you became a fan of Freed, and poof, it's gone. You know, you can't do crazy stuff and expect it to go well. If you want to join the conversation today, hey, this is just getting us started. I've got Dwayne Stein on this hour, and he always brings it. So if you want to join the conversation, I'm here with you for 3 hours, live financial news talk. 504-2600-995 is the number to call. We're streaming live over on Facebook. Hey, everybody out there in TV land. And we're our YouTube channel as well, but you can go to the Winning at Life Facebook page, check us out, and stream the show as well. I'm going to share it over to my personal page on our first break at the quarter of the hour. The Winning at Life app is a great resource tool, as well as GregoryRicks.com, especially the news blog over there. Lots of articles that I read that I get posted up there to help you with building your knowledge. And I think reading and daily reading something to make you better, I think is a really great idea. And by the way, through the Winning at Life app, you can text, email, call the show. The email, if you want to send in a question through email, info@gregoryricks.com. All right, Dwayne, how are you doing today?
Sir, I am absolutely fantastic. Probably had one too many cups of coffee this morning, but hey, your listeners have heard me now for over 10 years with you, so they know I'm going to be fired up. But today it's not even fired up. I'm excited, Gregory, and I'm sure you know why. I mean, look, old Powell spoke, and he's finally saying what you've been telling them for several years now they should be doing, and we're on the mortgage side. We're benefiting it, and lo and behold, I think we're seeing it with the stocks as well. So good stuff going on this week. So excited about that, to share some of that stuff with your audience.
Well, what has you wound up today? It's generally always something that has you going, so I'm interested in what that might be.
Well, Powell has basically came out this week again and sort of discussed how the Fed is going to do 50 basis points right next week. So, and the markets, that's what they wanted. That's what we were expecting. So that's a good thing. So, when he does the 50, that's sort of a sign of like, hey, maybe things are getting a little bit better, right? So what that means is we saw a tremendous opportunity start to present itself with interest rates this week. And rates fell quite a bit. And what that's going to do, Gregory, is everybody is sort of been in limbo, right? They scared. They see a number on a piece of paper, and it's hard for folks to look at a big picture, right? We are in a give it to me now mentality, so people want it now. So it's hard for people to, as much as we've sat on this show, marry the house, date the rate, and some of these other things, and you could always refinance. There's just a lot of people that are waiting. And so the good news now is what we're seeing, rates have come down this week, which has excited a lot of folks, even myself, and there's just going to be, it just offers some more opportunity, Gregory. And, in our industry, what more can we want on the mortgage side than to be able to do more mortgage loans and help people get into houses? So exciting stuff there, big time.
I had saw a headline, and I'm scrolling to see if I can pick that up, but I believe it was in the Wall Street Journal, but I'm going to do a couple checks real quick here to make sure I've got that right. But basically what the headline was saying, help me with the phrase, repossession, foreclosures. Foreclosures are a scary thing, and then the article went on, but we may need more to fix the housing shortage.
Without a doubt. And unfortunately, and when I say unfortunate, or I guess fortunately, Gregory, less than 2% of home sales over the last year have been foreclosures. It's just not going to happen. Short sales, which is when you basically give the house back, right, and say, I can't afford it, foreclosures are at zero. Because I'm not giving up my house sitting at a 3.5% interest rate, right? I'm almost like a king defending his castle. You come around, you're going to be in for the fight of your life. So foreclosures, it would take so much for that. And we're not going to see that happen just in the fact of how much equity everybody has right now, right? So when you have less than 2% of your sales of foreclosures, me and you've talked about this for years. Sometimes there's good return, and I agree if you can't afford it. But now I think foreclosures is not going to be something, and you talked about this, and we remember when people were trying to compare the beginning of this year, all they kept saying is, oh, we're headed for another housing crash, or this is 08, 09 again, and all you and I kept saying is, it doesn't even line up. Like, it's not even at the same, you're talking football, we're not even the same sport when you compare why 08 and 09 happened to now. So that's why I think you're going to see foreclosures is just, it's not going to be something that we go, okay, hey, when that happens, do we need them? Would that help? Yes. But we're over 2 million homes short right now on inventory, right? So, I mean, that's a ton.
There was an estimated 3.8 million homeowners who lost their homes to foreclosure from 2000 to 2010. And when I saw the headline of that article, I was thinking of, well, that's not going to happen, and it's not going to happen in that way. And you're right, because of the equity that's built up. But we've got a future change that's happened because let's say the people, as when this real estate heated up, the past year, maybe 2 years, these folks might be upside down the next few years. If they're taking a long-term view, in 10 years, they'll be fine for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's real estate, Gregory, and we've always talked about this, right? I mean, what comes up must come down, but let's think about it this way. Is it really a bad thing? It's all the headlines are going to look horrible for the next 6 months to a year, because the fact is, when you look at it, it's going to say home values or home decline, when in reality, all it is your appreciation is coming down. In the last 2 years, we've had 18 and 20% appreciation. That's 38% appreciation in home values in 2 years. If you take a normal 5% market, that's 8 years got jammed into 2. So those folks are going to sell those houses with the foreclosures, and they're still going to be able to, like you're saying, take that run when things maybe do even out, right? Everything we're going to see in January, February is going to be like, oh, the market.
When we come back from the break, the question I'm going to ask you again is there sketchy lending going on out there that would lead to that? You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hello, Gumbo Nation. This is Dwayne Stein with Mortgage Gumbo, and I want to thank you for almost 8 years. You've been listening to me weekly on Mortgage Gumbo, providing you with free education and options advice when it comes to home lending. And while these times may be unique, we've got this. For more than 30 years, I've been mortgage lending in your market, getting clients just like you the best loan at the best rate for the cheapest cost you qualify for. Let's chat. Visit mortgagegumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Less than half of Americans have drawn up a will. If you don't have one, you know you need to get one. But what if you do have a will? Is it up to date? Has anyone in your family been married, divorced, or passed away? Have any new family members been born or adopted? Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me and we'll make you a plan or update your existing plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
Do you like having your money follow where momentum is? Remember, things cycles in the markets there, and you've got to have proper asset classes. And how about a tactical approach that follows momentum? And if there's a black swan effect, like maybe a pandemic, and not have to suffer all of that downside move. That might be why you should take a look at the invest 50-50 philosophy. Why I think, always felt, they're doing it wrong out there. There has to be a better way to help people grow their money and have it positioned to take income from without it being crushed when the markets go down.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
It's a little too loud on the highway. I want to pull back in your driveway.
You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. Hey, are you looking for some financial help? Here's something I'll share, kind of weird thing that happens once in a while. And that's where one of my client services team had a conversation the other day with an individual that had downloaded a couple of things to read that we put out. And some of that could be, the road beyond, your 401k, pension decisions, and followed up with them and said, oh, yeah, I've been listening to Gregory for a long time, and I've actually got an appointment with you guys. So he looked it up and said, nope, I don't see appointment. Oh, yeah, I've got an appointment. I'm meeting with Jerry. I don't have a Jerry, by the way. So it was just kind of interesting there. And whoever Jerry is probably knows that she thinks she's going in to see us, but she's going in to see him. And one of the things also, if you're website savvy, you can go to GregoryRicks.com and pretty much see our team members. And if Jerry's not on the website, Jerry don't work for us. And also, situations come up where they're listening to the show and then they go see him. We might know a little bit about what we're doing. I've been doing the show for 12 years, and if you like what you hear, and it's one firm, one voice, and you're wanting to get some help and talk to us, and nobody's going to force you to make a decision or force you to become a client, because you know what that first visit is? It's a fit. It's a relationship visit. It's a visit to see if we're a fit and can we start a relationship and take a long view to it. That's how you should be looking at it. That's how we look at it. Just because you come in doesn't mean you're going to become a client, doesn't mean you're going to choose to. And you might not be a fit, and that is okay. But what you've got is comfort there. And if you're looking for help and you're a show listener, you know where you should start. I'm kind of biased. You should call my office, 504-832-9200, and or go through the website, GregoryRicks.com, to get started. We have Dwayne Stein, host of Mortgage Gumbo, with us this hour. He precedes our show every Saturday morning, and I've known Dwayne for years, and I kind of look at him and his industry kind of an eagle. If there's a way to get it done, he's going to figure that out. So we're talking about foreclosures and how the dynamics have changed, and for the most part, foreclosures are like non-existent. Right, Dwayne? Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
that's 100% correct.
So
right now, yep.
What led to that, though, was just about, when we go back to the mid-2000s, I think it was a scenario where about anybody could qualify for a mortgage at that point in time. And maybe not quite that extreme, but it was very loose. And then all of a sudden
It was
got
close. We used
really
to call them fog and mirror loans. We used to call them fog and mirror loans. If you could, if you breathed on that mirror and fog was on there, we're like, yeah, we'll figure something out. Let's roll.
But we don't live in that world today. So tell me about that. And that's kind of led me to the question at the break. Are we in a world where there are some sketchy loans out there?
So I wouldn't say sketchy loans. Look, are people getting creative? We have what's now called non-QM, which, Gregory, all that was back in the day was, things that are outside of your conforming loans, meaning outside of your conventional loans or FHA. Non-QM is basically where you've got folks who remember the old stated income? Well, it's stated income, but you got to kind of be able to prove that you've got some assets. It's not like we just talked about fog and mirror. So, what you're saying is not really any kind of crazy loan types. I mean, buyers now and people purchasing homes or more credit savvy than ever. Credit scores are at all-time highs that we're looking at. But what you do have is you have kind of what you just alluded to with somebody who, you've got pretenders versus contenders, right? Let me play off the Gregory Ricks name instead of going become my own personal Gregory Ricks in their own format. That's what we're seeing right now. A lot of misinformation is out there, Gregory, just simply because who couldn't do a loan when you were offering somebody 2.5% to 3.5%? Anybody could. Now when you have to, and I always appreciate when you call me an eagle because now is when more than ever you've got to know how to put somebody into a program, number one, on what is their goals, right? How do we get them in? But also how do we are well aware, and rates are on a 30 years at 6.34, and we'll get into that, which is a heck of a lot better than it was 6 weeks ago when it was at 7.32. Is it where we would love it to be? No, we don't hide from that here at Mortgage Gumbo. So my whole goal is cash is king. So let's figure out how that number on a piece of paper, while we don't like it, let's figure out how we can take advantage in other ways and know that rate is temporary. And know that it's not something that nobody right now is getting a loan going, man, I can't wait to pay 6.34 for the next 30 years. This is awesome. I'm super fired up. Right? So when you look at, are there crazy loan types out there? No, not really. I mean, everything now is pretty much under lock and key. It's being watched. It's being managed. But you just got to be careful of, and it's what people are being told. And Gregory, in our business, and you see it as well, it's hard when somebody comes to you and says, I just lost a bunch of my money. It's the same pain when somebody comes to me and says, I just got told I got turned down. I can't do a loan. Is there anything you could do to help me? I'm now homeless. We take that personal, which is why you thrive in your industry. And I'm, my goal is to look up to you and follow kind of those same footsteps. So that's where that's the frustrating part is misinformation, because you got some leftovers hanging out who don't know how to manage through these times. And when I've done this for 30 years, I've seen lots of ups and downs, Gregory. So I know how to charter through these waters.
Well, that is interesting you mentioned that because, in your business, like ours, I kind of call it seasons of the year. And, right. The markets change throughout the year. Your business isn't necessarily like that on a yearly basis, but over a few years, you look at it, these years are kind of like seasons. There's ups and downs. And I think somewhat we're moving to what I consider more of a normalized interest rate world. And I do think interest rates will go down in the future. We probably have them going up a little bit more as it is. But there's always that cycle, and it's more important now to make good decisions when you're buying a home, selling a home, financing, and your outlook. It was kind of like the previous decade, especially going back past maybe the past 5-6 years. It's kind of like, well, you couldn't mess that up because values were going up. If you paid too much, well, just wait a few years. You'll be fine.
Just hang out.
Might be a little bit tougher for the next few years, but if you're making a good financial decision, you're making a good property choice, you're making a good location choice, you're making a good curb appeal. And if it doesn't have curb appeal and you're buying it, it's because you can fix that and do that improvements, make it look better. And you should have a philosophy of, I'm going to date the rate, meaning you're not locked into it. Yeah, you did sign a 30-year mortgage. So if you were to never refinance, that's your deal going forward. But the thing is, you can. Nobody's ever locked into, oh, no, you can never change.
Well, Gregory, and what is one of your greatest philosophies or one of your rules are return of your money is more important than return on, right? What are my outs? Right, Gregory? So what I've done is I've taken that I've learned from you, and we have put that into place my entire career. I wasn't smart enough to go, hey, return of versus return on. That's brilliant. That's why you're at the top of the mountain, right? But when you look at that, that's exactly what we're doing. And it's just same thing, Gregory, when buying a house. It's return of your money. So why are we going to put down any more than we need to, as long as it's an affordability thing, right? And that's what I explain to people. I can't give you a home that you cannot afford, right? I'm not going to tell you, hey, don't put down 20%, only put down 3%, so you can upside down and lose your home. No, I can't. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to look at how do we get you in this home so the return of your money, when we go to make this happen, you benefit. And we do that by getting sellers right now to pay closing costs, not you. Because if you're paying that, you're not getting that. We know you're going to refinance. So let's try to limit that. It doesn't happen all the time, but those are the things that we're going to try to do. So we're operating kind of on the Gregory Ricks, focus there of return of your money. And it's the same thing when it comes to the house. Let's get you the return of that money is when we do that refinance, then put you in a more of a long-term goal of what you really want to accomplish, right? That's sort of the approach we're taking right now.
Yeah, so once again, make good decisions on the loans and buy into what you can afford and have a plan for how long you're going to be there. And then what if something changed? What's your exit strategy? We're going to give you more tips when we come back from the break. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, a financial advisor here to answer your questions and help you win with your money.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Simple information from good people.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Could this be your Social Security, your 401k, pension, lump sum, your debt, student debt, credit cards?
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years. Sometimes I'll pull over to the side of the road and just listen.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Today we see rising costs at the grocery store and the gas pump. Have you prepared for rising inflation and higher taxes in your financial plan? Get our guide, Inflation and Your Retirement. Go to GregoryRicks.com/inflation to get our guide today. We are Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
Our firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
We are living in historic times, extraordinary times. A lot of people need help right now, and I want you to remember your local food bank. Now, here in New Orleans, it's Second Harvest Food Bank. Over in Mobile, they've got Feeding the Gulf. But you can find your local food bank, feedingamerica.org. Food donations, monetary donations, or I know you've got some free time. Find your local food bank. Support your local food bank, especially in times like this. Do some good. feedingamerica.org.
Fox News, I'm Jared McHugh. Georgia GOP Senate contender Herschel Walker responds to comments made by President Biden that he doesn't deserve to be in the United States Senate.
Right now, the media is not our friend, and I know that, and I thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to let you know that because of Joe Biden, we have these high gas prices, we have this high grocery prices, we have crime in the streets. Joe Biden and Raphael Warnock is a fault of that.
Walker on Fox and Friends is challenging incumbent Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock. Early voting is ended. The runoff is this Tuesday. In Texas, a FedEx driver has confessed to kidnapping and killing a 7-year-old girl. Athena Strand was taken from her Wise County home on Wednesday. The sheriff says,
one of the toughest investigations that I've been involved in because it's a child. And anytime there's a child that dies, it just hits you in your heart.
Lane Aiken. America is listening to Fox News.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Riggs.
Ain't it fun? Living in that real world. Ain't it good? Being all alone. Where you from? You might be the one who's running things. Well, you can ring it back this bell and get what you want.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. Hey, Dwayne, you ever have the problem with mosquitoes?
No, I don't. Not too often.
Well, I don't, and it's because I use Mosquito Joe.
Oh, I knew where you were going there. I just wanted to make sure. Look, they're amazing. I use Mosquito Joe all the time. They're absolutely the best. When you don't realize how many times you're outside and then you're just not swatting away things. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is Stacy was doing some gardening and stuff and kind of outside of our perimeter. And I said, well, you see, if you step over this line, you're good. You step back over that line and you're bad. If you're looking to get some help with that, NewOrleans.mosquitojoe.com. You heard that? Dwayne uses them as well. Okay, Dwayne, for the listeners, they're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. I have Dwayne Stein, host of Mortgage Gumbo. And Dwayne's been in the mortgage business one heck of a long time. You know, I don't want to date you, but, you know, sometimes I do that to myself, and I'm like, oh, my gosh.
30 years.
Yeah, and I've been in this industry in some form or fashion for 40 years. So, gosh, you know, time flies when you think about that, and you lead a very productive life. I'm substituting that word for busy, but it's productive. We always have stuff going on, always have stuff to do, and people we're trying to help, and that is the priority. And it means if I've got to help somebody, great. Something else will get deferred because they come first. But, you know, with that, time flies, and I think about that. I'm age 62 now, and I look at it, I'm a young 62. And I think about how time passes, because when you look back, like, gosh, that seems like yesterday.
Right.
And knowing, you know, I probably, got another 30 years. The best of the rest is 10. It's just kind of how I look at things. But I also look at it, hey, I've got to take advantage of every day. I don't want to waste a day. And that's in helping people, taking care of family, letting people know I'm there to help, and increasing my knowledge bank on a daily basis. And, of course, taking care of myself. And I'll tell you, I saw Dr. Miles last week for my annual checkup, and I'll tell you, I came away, we do blood workup and all kind of tests and stuff, and he has pages of notes there from results and everything. And going through it, Dwayne, I think it's the best annual review I've ever had. Or I can say that is for a long time, because there's always something needing to be worked on or anything. And there was nothing, cholesterol, just everything was in really good shape. So it was kind of wow. And we kind of talked about what was a couple things changes that I've made, and, try to do some exercise a few times a week, but I'm not big on this lifting weights or working out or jogging across the city or something. But, it's go out and do some walks and stuff. Just make sure you get some exercise, even though we're very productive. And another thing I did, and is a mental mindset change, and so much of what impacts us in life is how we think about things and treat things. And some things we need to break that maybe we were taught a long time ago. And what I decided earlier this year is I'm going to change how I consume food. Just because I go to a restaurant and order it doesn't mean I have to finish it. And it's even if I make something at home, I do not have to finish it. If I order a chicken sandwich and eating half of it, I've had enough, I'm done.
So portion control, Gregory, is kind of what you're saying?
Portion control along with exercise. Those two combined is I eat less, and it's okay. If I feel full, it's fine. It's, I can't do anything about what's left. I used to worry about, I got to take it home. I got to eat it later. Or, oh my gosh, I got to eat all this. Well, it's a shame to waste it, but I can't consume all that. And taking in less calories, I believe, has helped me quite a bit. But it had to be a mental change. Growing up is clean your plate, eat all these things we gave you, and that kind of stuff, and have to break away from that. And it's okay. And I think that's one of the biggest changes is I'll whether it's at home or dining out, once I've had enough, I push the plate away from me. So just thought I'd share that because I'm very proactive on health. I think I have a lot of responsibility to listeners, clients, families to take care of myself because they're looking for me to be there for a while leading. And it goes for our employees as well in the company to be there to continue to lead for a long time. So one of the things, I just wanted to share that with you. I appreciate you listening to it. New loan limits. So have there been some changes lately in mortgages and how that process goes?
Yeah. So every year, the FH, Federal Housing Finance Association, comes up with loan limits, and it's based on median prices, and this kind of goes into what we've been talking about, why, especially on Mortgage Gumbo, discussing why we're not in no housing bubble, why there's no housing crash coming. So, but new loan limits this week were announced, and they're going up to $726,200. So let me explain what that is, because Gregory, in our business, everybody wants to be the first to try to deliver news, but a lot of people don't do what me and you do and give the all-important whys. I think that's where our success comes from is we don't just spit out numbers, we give whys of what we do. Then our track record speaks for itself, right? So what loan limits are is what they're doing there is when they're raising conforming loan limits, what that is that's telling you before a loan becomes a jumbo loan. So it meets the conforming guidelines. So that number now is $726,200. $26,200. Okay, so that is up from $647,200 this past year. So that gives you an idea, and the way that's calculated is they look at median home prices across the country, and then they come up with what the new conforming loan limit is. So how cool is this? In essence, what that means is you could buy a $726,200 house as a first-time home buyer and only put down 3%, right? So pretty cool there. But it shows affordability is not coming back anytime soon, right? So because we're still going up. Now, what's crazy is, Gregory, that number from 2006 all the way to 2016 was $417,000 for the longest time. Well, and then it's going up since then every single year. Well, in 2017, it only went up $7,000. Now these things are compounding because home values are increasing and people have more equity, which kind of goes back to us talking about why we're probably not going to have those foreclosures anytime soon, right? So that's your conforming. Now what comes off of that? Then you have what's called your FHA loan limits. So now we get into what can you go do an FHA loan for before they go, nope, you can't do an FHA loan, you got to do a conventional loan. That number is going all the way up from $420,000 this year to $472,000. So that gives a lot. You can almost buy a $500,000 house in today's market as FHA, meaning only 3.5% down. And the benefit of FHA, especially right now, Gregory, while the rates aren't back to where we want them, FHA, I can get you approved with a 55% debt ratio. So you're able to get more home because of the loan limit. So that is it's a great thing when we start talking about that, because not everybody could go out and get that jumbo loan, right? And some markets, let's face it, most of our metropolitan market isn't even, it's not even a consideration, a loan over $726,000. So, but these conforming limits kind of show that they still see where housing went up again this year. So, we're not at a point where you're going to start to see this depreciation or anything like that. So I think it's a great thing, and it just gives more and more opportunity. And as the rates recede, like you said, Gregory, in a slow manner, this is not you take your sled up to the top of the mountain and you get up at the top.
You're listening to Winning at Life. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, better call Gregory.
One of the things I'm going to find out is, what do you think you're going to need a month to continue your lifestyle? And if they're not sure, I say, well, what are you spending now? Because I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different. One thing I'll suggest is you need to do a little bit of homework. You need to go look at your outflow from your checking account the past 6 months. Now, sometimes people will pay their bills on a quarterly basis, or, well, I pay my insurance once a year on the house. Well, go back a year and average it out to see what you're needing to pay. And then you have a handle, because now that tells me the net number. So now we have to go back, look at your overall income need. Where does that fit in tax brackets, and get to a gross number?
Call Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mosquitoes. We know them as flying, blood-sucking pests. But did you know that mosquitoes are actually highly intelligent? They can smell human breath. Our sweat helps them choose their next meal, and they use our body heat to find just the right place to bite. Outsmart mosquitoes with help from Mosquito Joe. Mosquito Joe has this time-release capsule that they spray that slowly releases its mosquito death over a course of a month. NewOrleans.mosquitojoe.com. NewOrleans.mosquitojoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income to contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
I'm young, I'm 22 years old, and I'm just now starting to get into the 401k and the percentage and stuff. How much money do I need to save to, retire at around, 60, 65 years old?
So first off, one of the first rules, if you're getting a match, you need to get 100% of the match. The match is free money. Those that are putting off turning on their 401k because I need that money every month. No, you need to get the match. That's the priority. What's great for you is you're taking advantage of one of the greatest things on the planet, and that's compound interest and time. At age 22, you're not going to have to put away a lot to achieve this goal versus if you wait to 35 or 40, it's going to seem like a mountainous task.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Yeah, the boys round here drinking that ice cold beer, talking about girls, talking about trucks.
You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. If you're newbies to the show, we're talking about money. We have Dwayne Stein with us the remainder of this hour, talking about mortgages. Next hour, I'm probably going to cover some investing tips. I want to cover health savings accounts also. I had promised that a couple weeks ago and never did get to it, so we're going to talk about that next hour also, and take your calls at 504-260-0995. Dwayne, I've got a question for you here, of course, and it was something I saw once again this morning in reading, and has to do, but you didn't touch on it, on these new limits. And I've got here from Wall Street Journal, home buyers could soon get $1 million mortgage with a 3% down payment. So a little information from the article. To qualify for $1 million mortgage, Americans typically have to make a down payment of at least 20% of the home's price. Starting next year, some buyers could put as little as 3% down.
Yep. So what that is, that's high-cost counties or / parishes, and in our New Orleans area, they don't consider our market high cost, right? Which is a good thing. But those are for your high-cost areas. So
like Los Angeles.
Yes,
and New
right.
York is an example.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, Arizona's, all that kind of those places. Yep. Your Florida's, there's high cost areas there. Yes, sir.
Well, that's interesting, but that's big changes.
That's huge.
Gosh,
right?
yeah, like for 3% down.
Yeah, $1 million house and only have to put down $30,000. I'm in. Right, I'm in. But see, Gregory. Yeah. So let's start thinking about this, right? So this is where we're excited. The folks that's done loans over the last couple years, see, now you start getting into the market of where I'm going to do everything and defend my territory to the person who goes, and this is just an example, right? Most people buying $1 million house aren't just doing $30,000. But now, when this happens, Gregory, there's not as much skin in the game. There's a higher rate. Who's going to walk away first? You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
That one that has 3%. Not much skin in the game. Kind of like, if this goes bad, I'll move on. I'll survive.
I'm upside down. Great. Who cares? I'm out. It cost me $30,000, and it's just that's a very far. How many people? But those are the things that I sort of look at. Like, that's the stuff that I'm keeping an eye on.
Throw into the mix now, of course, they're probably having to pay for some insurance now because of the small down payment, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So you're still gonna have your mortgage insurances, no doubt about it. Yeah. Now you can buy it out, and those are the options that you could buy out PMI, which is stuff we look at. And normally in a normal market, it's something that we're promoting. Right now we are not, because again, return of your money more important than the return on. So to have somebody buy out their mortgage insurance for a rate that they're only going to have for a year, I'm not wanting them to spend $2, $3, $4 to do that on something they're not going to have, because it would take them 4 or 5 years to make that up. In our normal market, that's where we're going. Put down 5%, buy out your PMI, and you're good to go.
How much
I think we're probably about 6 months out, Gregory. If we start getting these rates down from this 6 point, today we're at 6.34, and I'm on your show and we're talking about 5.75, 5.95. Well, now, Gregory, somebody might be buying a point to get them to 5.25, or maybe a point and a half to 4.99. Now we're in a market where we go, yep, I'm good. I like this. I'm willing to do it. Now we're going to make a little bit more of an investment, because now we could see the long-term goal. That number on a piece of paper is more attractive.
So how much? We're at 6.34 on a regular 30,
yep.
and the jumbo is
at 5. Jumbo's at 5.75.
Wow, that's not bad.
No, it's not. And Gregory, let me put it to you this way. Listen to this. So if somebody came to me in October and wanted a $250,000 house, in October the rate was 7.12. On a 30-year, that gave a payment of $1,683. Now, if they called me today, and we're just using the numbers today, right? We're not, no points, nothing like that. That same $250,000 with today's rate, the payment would go down to $1,553, so they'd save $130 a month. So people go, oh, well, it's only $130. Hey, you could send it to me, but that also pays for some, your gas bill. But Gregory, most of the people that call me when they hear about, like, me talking on the show, when they're going to call me, you know what they're going to say? They're not going to go, hey, how much money can I save on a $250,000? What they're going to go is, how much home can I afford now? Well, now with these rates, if you want that same $1,683 payment that I gave you in October, now, Gregory, instead of $250,000, now you could buy $271,000. So that's why, from an affordability, see, it's not going to, the market, and this is what I'm trying to get people to understand, because I talk to people, oh, we're waiting for it to crash. I'm like, where are you getting that information from? So now, if you're happy with that $1,683 payment, well, now, Gregory, I can go buy a $271,000 house. That's why, as we've been talking about on your show, why buying now is not a bad thing. Marry the house, date the rate, because all that's going to happen as these things continue and the rates recede a little bit, competition's going to come into the mix.
Yeah.
That's not going to help you as a buyer.
Yeah, don't buy on being desperate. Oh, I got to have a place now. Take your time and look and make good decisions. And part of what you've got to adjust to is more normalized world. And I'll tell you, 10-year treasuries, I believe, is a 3-point-something normalized world. And we're in that. I think it can go up a little higher, maybe it'll drop lower, but you should kind of expect this range that Dwayne's giving you. And I the jumbo under 6% is like, wow, that's a good number considering what we've been through, and 6% on a traditional mortgage 30-year. That really isn't that bad. It's an adjustment. It's bad compared to what we were getting 2 years ago, but with what we're going forward, this is something you should be accustomed to. Just make good decisions with the property, because look, and let's say I'm wrong. Well, 10-year treasuries gets back down to 1%. Well, then you're going to have a good refinance deal coming your way.
Right. You can only win. You can only win.
I don't think it's good or healthy for the economy for us to go back to that 1% treasury world. Things are not good. We're going to adjust through this inflation, and sometimes there's this where we have to have a reset. Well, we're having a reset. We're not done with it, but you need to adapt to where we are and have a plan for going forward. We've just got a couple minutes left. What are 3 things people should be thinking about now when they're shopping for mortgages?
I think number one, what they have to be doing, Gregory, is right now you just got to come to grips and say, hey, don't wonder if you know. Everybody last week had Thanksgiving dinner, and they sat with that, affectionately, I call him the drunken uncle who knows everything about home ownership, yet it's been renting for 40 years. Right now, what you got to do is find somebody you can trust and get the answers from. And that starts with credit. That starts with finding out what is your true buying power. And it's not calling and going, hey, what are your rates today? That's if anybody gives you answers to that without wanting to get some information, you're really going down the wrong path, right? And you're not getting, we're talking about purchasing a home, probably your largest investment. So you want to find out what's your buying power. You want to know, because when the opportunity strikes, and I'm not here to tell you when, I'm here to tell you how. Right? I don't sit here and tell you, today you need to buy because. What I'm going to tell you is, hey, here's how you will be approved. And that is what my goal. That's why the snapsendandsave.com that you could go to. The other thing, Gregory, with that is, you just got to have, and I heard it in one of your commercials during the break, it's your budget. How many of you are still kind of living off of what it was versus what it is? And I could tell you there's a lot of us. I read a thing this morning, $11.3 billion was spent on Cyber Monday alone. Highest ever. Doesn't sound like a recession or inflation to me. So
no, it does not.
What is that budget? That's a crazy number, huh, Gregory?
Yeah, and the jobs numbers not showing these problems, and doesn't show a recession coming, even though you keep hearing about companies having layoffs and planning to cut back. And, one of the biggest stunners that was given to me a couple weeks ago is we have 7 million adult males not seeking work. And that's like, why are they not?
Well, they're hoping, Gregory. I'll tell you why. They're hoping, just like the student loans. They just pushed student loans, Gregory, back to next fall. Student loans have not been paid since March of 2020. And that means people are sitting back. That's going to be almost 3-4 years of interest, Gregory, that will have accrued on student loans.
20 seconds, Dwayne. How do they reach you?
MortgageGumbo.com or go to snapsendandsave.com. Folks, we do a free soft pull on your credit to let you know where it's at. It costs you $0.
You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We're going to be back in a few minutes for hour 2.
From the Gregory Ricks & Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station.
It's the end of the line for Team USA. I'm Pam Huso, Fox News. The U.S. soccer team has just been defeated by the Netherlands at the World Cup in Qatar. The final score was 3-1. A political contest is almost over in Georgia. A closely watched Senate runoff is set for Tuesday between Republican Herschel Walker and the Democratic incumbent Raphael Warnock, who rallied in Atlanta this morning.
I know people who work and don't have enough health care, who struggle every single day. Shucks, I bumped into many of them just knocking doors over the last few weeks. Yes, every now and then. Can you imagine someone knocks on your door and there's your United States Senator standing there?
Walker has tried to link Warnock to President Biden, who he blames for high inflation and high crime. There's still a lot we don't know about efforts by Twitter to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story, but the company's new chief has unveiled some of the puzzle pieces.
Twitter's new CEO, Elon Musk, shared the internal deliberations with Substack writer Matt Taibbi, who turned the information into a lengthy Twitter thread that was posted last night. Taibbi wrote that by October of 2020, just weeks before President Biden was elected into office, requests from connected actors to delete tweets had become routine. One executive wrote to another, "More to review from the Biden team." Handled was the response back.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff, some executives at Twitter expressed concern that Russian hacking was behind the story. A big catch for the U.S. Navy in the Gulf of Oman. Earlier this week, a fishing trawler sailing along a maritime route from Iran to Yemen was intercepted. U.S. Naval Forces Central Command says more than 1 million rounds of ammunition were confiscated, along with other illegal weapons. America's listening to Fox News.
Welcome to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. For newbies, I've been doing this radio show for better than 12 years. So become a part of the Winning at Life Nation. Download the Winning at Life app. Connect. We have Wednesday Q&A that we do. The Ask, I guess it's the Ask Gregory. Well, the podcast is the Ask Gregory podcast, and we do the Wednesday Q&A, and that's where callers into the show or people writing in questions or topics that are brought up by conversations we have with people as well. I won't necessarily say clients, but we can't do conversations verbatim, but we can take that idea or concept and share some information with you as well. In this hour, I want to talk about health savings accounts, probably a few things you may not know about those. I'll just kind of prime you with it is, what's the perfect investment? Okay, we're going to talk about it from a tax standpoint. I know I could hear somebody out there. Yeah, I want one of those that never, ever goes down, but makes me a lot of money. Okay, yeah, that'd be perfect, but it all doesn't work that way. But let's look at it from a tax standpoint. What would be perfection? 3 parts to that. First is put money in pre-tax, grow it tax deferred, and take it out tax free, or we could define it as I'll never have to pay tax on the distributions. That to me, that's kind of the perfect long-term savings account. SHAs can partly fill that for you if you use it. Once again, we can't put all of our money in those type of savings accounts. That's where it's probably difficult to put all of your money in Roth accounts. The Roth is you put money in pre-tax. No, I'm sorry. I misspoke there. You put your money in a Roth after tax. See, that's the difference with the HSA is pre-tax. A Roth is after tax. But the other 2 parts, we grow it tax deferred and subject to the 5-year clock and 59.5 rule, we can take those tax deferred gains out tax free. So one of the things is we talk about those 3 things, but mostly you're only able to get 2 of the 3 there. Like your 401k, you're putting money in pre-tax, you're growing it tax deferred. Okay, there's 2, but yeah, it's going to be taxed when it comes out. How about your deductible IRA? Okay, the deduction means that subject to age, you can put around neighborhood of $7,000 into it. So you're putting it in pre-tax because it's can be tax deductible. So you're growing it tax deferred. Okay, so we've got 2 of the 3, but yeah, it's going to be taxed when you take it out of the account. So that's kind of what I look at is how I darn sure want to get 2 of the 3, but is there situations where some of our money can get all 3? And there are some tax strategies out there, other nuances in the code that can, maybe some of your money can get all 3. Using a life insurance strategy, once again, where you can grow money tax deferred and take it out tax free, the growth over time, but you're putting your money into it after tax there. So once again, that's a maximizer program we share with people there. And sometimes there's tax deductions through business strategies that maybe gives you some portion of money and enables those 3 things, but we're never getting it all. And that's just like investing. I just want 100% of my money to win. If you're going to have principal protection, yeah, you're limiting your upside. You are also probably limiting accessibility because it needs time for those guarantees to work. Where you're taking risk is, you have some downside exposure, but you have upside exposure as well. Annuities, fixed indexed annuities, for example, typically they have a clock, a surrender period. Most annuities, if not all, have a surrender period. The funds are backed up by the reserves of the insurance companies, but typically you have a surrender period, and a fixed index does not expose you to downside of the market, but you can link to the upside. One of the things neat about those that's going on right now is where we're in essentially the 10-year treasury closed, for example, yesterday at a tick under 3.5%. What we've got is that normalized world, which means that can give you more upside linked to the index, either a participation rate's higher or cap. I like to use those tools in the overall portfolios as mixed in, because why? It gives us upside growth with no downside exposure, and once again with a long-term view. So I got off on this tangent regarding health savings accounts, but I can kind of I've been doing this for 40 years. I can roll from one topic to the next real quick. So let's not get lost here in this first segment. I want to talk to you about your contribution to the show, and that is calling and asking questions. 504-260-0995. A little bit of background about me. I've been in the industry for neighborhood of 40 years. And what I do here on the show started doing over 12 years ago. My present financial firm that I'm CEO, founder of, that entity was incorporated, 15 years ago, something like that. Don't hold me exactly to that, but I've been working in this, helping people, advising people, working in financial services for decades. So it's a lot of knowledge accumulated over the years. One reason I sit down here every Saturday and share this with you for 3 hours is to help you make better financial decisions. The website's GregoryRicks.com. Over on the website is the news blog, and really what we put up there is articles that are easy for you to get to with no paywalls and such. I don't know, sometimes that may happen and such, but what we try to do is put up some of the stuff that I read and I think is important. And that's a good resource for you to go to as well. And then the Ask Gregory podcast, we have seasons of that, and we're continuing to add to that. And that's kind of short bits for example, it's like short bites of this show as an example, where you can essentially go by topic and learn more. And yeah, you are getting on my take on it. And, that's when I explain to people investment strategies. One of the strategies that's built in that you may not see, it's how you think about money. And I think that's really important to understand. Where I've been in the industry, I know how things work. I get into the weeds all the time, but we also have to think about the investor, the client, how they work as well. I did not get a chance to forward the shows. Angie, I had looked up on the break last time on my Facebook page, Winning at Life, to share the show, but I didn't even see it posted up there. So I'm going to check on that on the next break and forward that, see if it's showing live over there at this time. Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Showing videos, but I'm just not showing that thing that passes on live. I just see the old from the November 19th was live, so I'm not even seeing a current post. They may have changed the show. Heck, I don't know how those things work there. She's telling me it's up and running. Oh, I see it now. Okay, let me see if I can go ahead and share that over. Share now. Done. So I have to go back and check, see if I shared it on the right page there. One of the things I enjoy about Facebook is seeing friends posts and stuff and new things going in their lives and followers. But one of my favorite things to do every day is go wish people happy birthday on there. That's kind of my main jam on that. And then finding out friends and kind of getting those alerts and helping their special day, that we were glad you were born because of what you bring to our lives, and kind of help people celebrate that. So I think that's a neat thing about Facebook Live. But the show's streaming over there, so if you want to connect and watch the show that way, you can go to the Winning at Life page and check us out. My personal page is Gregory Ricks. There's also a page for the firm, Gregory Ricks and Associates. And we're streaming on YouTube, so you can watch the show and contribute. If you're wanting to email a question, info@gregoryricks.com. Remember, investing is like seasons of the year. The market's down, so S&P 500 neighborhood of 15%. So one of the things I'm also going to talk to you about today is buffers, proper asset allocations to give you a good rotation of your money. And even, look, some people say they're not too conservative, and guess what? When things go down, yeah, they're conservative. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be right back.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Could this be your Social Security, your 401k, pension, lump sum, your debt, student debt, credit cards?
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years. Sometimes I'll pull over to the side of the road and just listen.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
What's cooking, Gumbo Nation? This is Dwayne Stein, your local mortgage lender. Bread prices up. Milk is up. Inflation way up. I know this can all be overwhelming. That's why you need to know I got you. Tens of thousands have trusted me and my team with their largest investment, the home. So while things look cloudy, let's work to make sure when the dust settles, your family is ready to take advantage. Visit mortgagegumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
If you've been listening to Winning at Life for a while now, you probably already know that estate planning is more than just a will. You may need a trust. You definitely need both of your powers of attorney. So what's your plan? Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney, offices in Metairie. Listen, don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me and we'll make you a plan or update your existing plan. Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
One of the core jobs with annuities that goes back hundreds of years is to guarantee income for life. It has that option in there. We like to use it as a distribution tool of income that, markets go all to hell and your assets won't go down. So that should be part of your blend to help levelize volatility with some risk-averse assets that's going to grow despite what's going on in the markets. It can be pension-like money, and a lot of what we do is bond-like money in that world. Bond-like is what annuities do, not what they are.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
'Cause you make me wanna pull this truck to the side of the road, slide on over, let me hold you close and tell you everything I'm thinking. Hop on out and let the tailgate fog you, drunk on you with no alcohol. If you don't stop, I'm gone. Well, girl, you make me wanna.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. In the first hour, we had Dwayne Stein, host of Mortgage Gumbo, joining us, and he was talking about budgets, and it's kind of like I've talked about it a lot lately, and especially with prices have changed. And if you're not aware of how your spending might have shifted, could it be a negative impact on you? 50% of the people essentially have no savings. 30%, and this is data from stuff I've read over the years, a little bit of research, I can pull some articles, but general knowledge is 50% of the people don't have savings to speak of or retirement savings. And a third of workers are paycheck to paycheck. So when we have this inflation and things have come about, one of the things you should think of doing is a budget worksheet or a budget audit. Think about that. Ben in Biloxi, welcome to Winning at Life.
I've been discussing with another financial advisor going into putting $150,000 into a 10-year index-based annuity with I think it's a 10% participation fee and a 5% spread. I just didn't know with the market the way it is an index-based annuity a good thing to go into, because I know it's you're going to have some downside for a while, and you're still going to have to be paying that 2% fee. I just wanted to get your feedback on that.
So you've got a 2% fee on this one? Is this a variable or a fixed index?
It's a variable.
It's a variable. I'm just not a big fan of those. Why, if we're going to do risk assets, because basically a variable, how I'll define it is it's a wrapper of mutual funds. You're using risk assets in that. Is this qualified money or non-qualified? Or is it an IRA, or is it not?
It would be money out of my IRA.
Okay, so it is qualified money there, which
Right.
annuities,
Yeah.
simply put from a tax standpoint, is a tax-deferred tool. IRAs in itself is a tax-deferred wrapper and such,
right.
Qualification. So money in an IRA grows tax deferred. If you put after-tax money in an annuity as an example, it grows tax deferred. So we're not putting money in there for the tax deferral part because it's already IRA money. So it already has that tax qualification. So if I'm putting money into a variable annuity and inside that variable, they're utilizing mutual funds, why do I need to put that money in something that has a 2% wrapper and then a 5% spread for whatever reason that is? Why am I complicating my life utilizing and costing myself more in fees by using a variable account? What is it they're doing different to offset that and make that better for me? I've been in the industry for over 30 years, Ben, and I can't see it. I hold a variable license. Somebody said, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about variable. I hold a variable license. I'm securities licensed as well. I'm insurance licensed as well.
Right.
I'm very versed on this, and I, for the life of me, can't see why that would be in your best
Makes
interest.
sense.
Because I could I could go use exchange traded funds and most likely be well under 1% in fees, and those can be inside of my IRA, which grows tax deferred. I would use other strategies. Now, I do believe there's a place for annuities. Another negative is on that one, on the variable, you're still carrying risk, you're carrying a bunch of expenses, and that's just, why are we paying more when we could do that for less? The other, and there might be a commission incentive there, but people in financial world do have to get paid, but they don't have to get paid in such a way that injures you. So the other side.
Let me ask you a question there.
Go ahead.
Does a fiduciary make commission if they sell me an annuity?
Okay, a fiduciary is not a job title. A fiduciary is how they're supposed to act. They're supposed to advise you in such a way that they put your interests ahead of anything else. So it's kind of more so a standard. With DOL rules coming forward that the clock is ticking, but they're also supposed to already be doing that. But the DOL rules basically is a fiduciary standard to where if your money is qualified money, they have to justify that advice and why. And at some point, they're probably going to have to answer in an audit, why did you make this recommendation? We get audited often. I applaud this scrutiny because this puts a stop to some of this stuff that people's money should not be in, because they have to answer for why did you do this. So it should be in your best interest, and of all the choices, what's the best possible things to do? I'll shift on the annuity side here. Is I think there's a place for annuities. I prefer fixed indexed annuities. And fixed index annuities can be structured where there is no fee and you don't need a spread. And what I like is the par rate, where you get the upside of the market without downside exposure. And you should never put all of your money in annuities, only a portion.
Right.
And it's relative, and it should be treated as an asset class. And let me finish. Annuities, the other negative, whether it's variable or fixed, is there is a surrender period, meaning they're going to charge you a fee if you get out early, like you used the phrase 10-year annuity. Well, there's going to be a fee to exit out of that early. So that has to also be talked about and thought about how that money's placed in there. If it's for future income and distributions in such a way that all that works. But once again, that's a reason I just would say no more than half the money goes into one or more annuities that have a surrender period. I think up to 50% is appropriate. Cases where somebody says, I just don't want risk. How much more can I get in? Maybe a little bit more, but no more than half of your money should go in that. And when you correlate it to other assets, you have a cycle of money moving in your favor. I believe when you look at the math and look at historicals, the right mix increases the chances of your success going forward there. I don't like bonuses also. So, well, they give me a 10% bonus to get in there. Well, then on the renewal rates, they're probably going to dial you back. Somebody's got to pay for that as well. I think 10 years is a sweet spot on surrender period. If you're going to do a shorter one, probably some of your yield or par rates are going to be a little bit less. I don't see why you should do more than 10 years. I don't see that there's a reasoning behind that. And I'm pretty versed in this world as well. So there's things I like and I dislike. And that's where people will say, well, I don't like annuities. I said, well, I dislike most of them. There's a few I like because their growth and the way they're structured gives you a better chance of winning.
Several companies, and I have rolled over my 401k into an IRA. And I have invested, because you have that option to do different things with your IRA to, put it into stocks. And I have kind of done the different diversity and stuff like that. But I just feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be for retirement. And I was wondering if I should move that into an annuity.
That's not going to be a simple answer. It depends on what type of annuity. All your money should not go into the annuity. Here's a negative on pretty much any annuity is they have a surrender period, which means for you to get 100% of whatever's in there out, it's got to remain there for a certain period of years. Now, generally, it's not a problem on turning income or taking distributions, but you need to kind of know those rules going in. That's the negative side. The positive side is I believe some of your money should be in a certain type of annuity. I like growth annuities. I like par rate because I can get growth, but I don't have downside exposure. So I do think some money should be there. I can't answer to you to how much because, from a standpoint, I've got to run a bunch of analysis. I want to see what your Social Security outlook's going to be. I want to see what your risk number is going to be. I need to know how much money you have. How are we building an income plan? But I believe a portion, and with the invest 50-50 philosophy, I'll just kind of say I like me some stocks, I like me some bonds.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC. Gregory Ricks and Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1976. Cancer Crusaders, Inc. is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $4 million so far, and all of that money goes to the Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center Foundation and the Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are literally working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. CancerCrusadersLA.com.
Fox News, I'm Karen McHugh. New details emerge surrounding Twitter's suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the lead up to the 2020 election.
This thread that was posted showcases how initial skepticism by social media companies over the Hunter Biden laptop story specifically boiled over at Twitter into overt partisan censorship. Twitter's new CEO, Elon Musk, shared the internal deliberations with Substack writer Matt Taibbi, who turned the information into a lengthy Twitter thread that was posted last night. Taibbi wrote that by October of 2020, just weeks before President Biden was elected into office, requests from connected actors to delete tweets had become routine.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. It's all over for the Americans at the World Cup. Team USA has been eliminated after suffering a 3-1 loss to the Netherlands. America is listening to Fox News.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Hey, y'all. Did I break any speakers there? Broke my eardrums. We're back from the break. Thanks for tuning in with us today. We got the remainder of this hour, then hour 3 coming up. If you want to join the conversation, it's 504 2600-995. You know, on the callers in the last segment, kind of speaking about annuities. And at the core, there's 2 different types out there. Variable annuities are different from fixed annuities. Variable annuities basically have sub-accounts that are risk accounts and subject to some riders that you pay for to maybe add some protection against the market. Those are pretty much risk accounts. And historically, whenever I followed up on those and broke those down, they're pretty high in fees there. So you have what's called an M&E fee, maintenance and expense fees. There'll be riders fees. And then internally, those sub-accounts, which are like mutual funds. Those typically, whenever we ask, well, what are those fees? Well, they average about 1%. It's not unusual to see those accounts with 2 to 4% in fees. I really dislike those. Like, if I want to put my money in mutual funds, why do I need to have it with an expensive wrapper, meaning a variable annuity? So the only plus is, well, I won't market risk and I have non-qualified money. Okay, might be one of your ways to get that, but also you're adding a surrender period in most cases to that. The flip side is fixed indexed annuities or fixed interest. When I speak of the world of fixed annuities, you have really two types there. It's fixed interest or fixed index. And that's where you have versus variable exposes you to market risk. Fixed index does not expose you to market risk. It exposes you on a fixed indexed annuity. They'll have different ways you can link the account values, typically to indices or sub indices to get you the upside or a portion of the upside of the market, typically through participation rate and caps. The fixed interest ones are essentially multi-year guaranteed annuities, which give you interest rates subject to certain periods of years. Kind of think of it like CDs, a 2-year fixed rate, 3, 4, 5 as an example. You could even go a bit longer. Those typically are auto renewal, and you have a window to shop that and move those assets. I'm kind of a fan of the fixed index because of opportunity money without risk. And one reason to consider that now is interest rates are much higher. So you're looking at blocks of money you put to work now are going to have more upside potential on the participation rates, on the cap rates. And participation rates, say, for example, if you're linking the money to the S&P 500, a participation rate might be 45% of the upside. And, of course, there's no downside connection because if the market's negative in that 1-year period, your return, you're at zero. Zero's your friend in that case. But if there's an upside, and the par rate's 45, you're getting 45% of that increase. So if the market's up 10%, the S&P's up 10%, you're getting 45% of that upside. Subject to that par rate could be 40, 45, 50. Typically, they change those and adjust every year. But if we've got higher interest rates that the insurance companies are working with, that's going to give you exposure on that block of money to higher participation rate, also higher cap rates. And let's example, what does cap mean? Let's say it has a 9% cap. So if the S&P's up 8%, you're getting 100% of the 8%. You're getting all that 8%. If it's up 9, you're getting 100% of the 9 with a 9 cap rate. If the market's up 10, you're getting the 9. If the market's up 11, you're getting the 9 because it's a 9% cap. They adjust those every year, but because of interest rates of their underlying portfolio, meaning their bond portfolios that support the assets, that's going to give you better opportunity. So one of the things to look like, if you've had one for a while, you might want to reconsider updating that and giving yourself more potential. And that's where there are opportunities to refresh those tools. It doesn't mean that you put the money there. Oh, I got to leave it there from now on. There could be opportunities where you could get better growth, better return, better value going forward. It's something to think about. I'll share this in a different way. And I do find this as an annoyance, and I kind of refer to it as annuity salesmen out there, and they may even represent themselves as being investment advisors and all, but really at the heart, they're selling annuities. That's their focus. It's their jam. It's all they really care to do. And some of them don't even have securities license, and that's all they have is insurance, and that's all they sell. Where I'm going with this is they're not really there to take care of you after the sale or to service you. You know, you can't find, I had a discussion not too long ago. I was going to say the other day, I'll just define it as not too long ago, that was relayed to me regarding where they had been put in an annuity some time back, but whenever they needed to look at the adjusting the renewal rate or making decisions, they really don't get any help, and it's not supposed to be that way. So knowing this happens, and there's a lot of you out there with those, and you need some help, call my office. It's what we do. We help. And there might be situations where that needs to be updated to give you more upside going forward. Some of those might need to be exchanged. Some of those just need to be relooked at. Some of those need to be recorrelated to your situation. The other is they might be an income tool that's not being taken advantage of. If you see you, and look, I'll tell you this, I've had discussion with people and the way they understand it, I said, well, if they explained it to you that way, they didn't do a very good job. They might not really understand what they're selling out there. Might be another reason to get a second opinion. But we believe there's a lot of those accounts out there where people are not getting the proper help, where that probably should be updated. So with that said, I still think it's a great tool, but it's something that we as a firm, and it's part of it, using fixed indexed annuities is one of the preferred asset classes that we have. And we talk to people about that, and we service those that we have clients that are using that as one of their asset classes. Some clients might be more weighted in that because they really don't want any exposure to risk. And we service that. We take care of them. We're evaluating. We build income strategies. And that might be a situation where you're needing to do some things, make some income. You're not quite sure how that works. What I challenge you is call my office for a second opinion, or just have a conversation. If we're a fit, we could be helping you service that going forward. Also, call my office, 504-832-9200, whether it's Baton Rouge, Mandeville, New Orleans, Gulfport. You're listening to Winning at Life. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
Regarding life insurance, you have three core types that I think of as term life insurance, universal life insurance, and whole life insurance. I can hear them out there, some of the guys in the industry that are listening to my show. Well, you miss variable life. Yeah, I know. There's some downside risk to that. Are you wanting your life insurance to have some negative stuff going on? I think not. So I'd rather have more of a defined life insurance and how this is going to work going forward. We should have a conversation. We've got kids, all this responsibility. Maybe it should be bumped.
Gregory Ricks and Associates. Find us at GregoryRicks.com or call 504-832-9200. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
When I was growing up, my mom relied on old wives' tales to get rid of outdoor bugs. One method included putting 2 pennies in a bag of water and hanging them throughout the backyard. And let's not forget Mom's go-to, the citronella candle, which never worked. It's the 20s. We have science and much more thorough ways to get rid of bugs. Call Mosquito Joe. Mosquito Joe has this time-release capsule that they spray that slowly releases their mosquito death over a course of a month. Because mosquitoes suck. NewOrleans.mosquitojoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, a financial advisor here to answer your questions and help you win with your money.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Simple information from good people.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
You know, one of the things I get questions about often is about investing. Hey, I've got some money. What should I do? Where should I put it? I'll ask next, how much money are we talking about? Well, yeah, I've got $5,000 to invest. So where should I go with it? And then the next question would be, is that emergency money? Do you have another account with emergency money in that? And a lot of times the answer is no. Then my next point would be, that sure sounds like emergency money. And you need to have that before you go elsewhere, saving or investing.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
And a little bit of chicken fried. Cold beer on a Friday night. A pair of jeans that fit just right. And the radio up. I like to see the sun.
Winning at Life. Live financial news talk radio. When we're talking about asset classes, you know, relating it to seasons of the year, you know, the invest 50-50 philosophy, there's a lot of reasoning behind that, of course, but that's kind of where it's made up of a strategic strategy of stocks and bonds, buffers, tactical, and fixed indexed annuities. And it's just like when you look at this year that the market's down about 15%, when you look at your overall portfolio, how much is it down? You know, if you have the proper blend and look across everything, yeah, it shouldn't be down that much. Reason you'd be down is all your money is in stocks. I think long term, and growth is though there's different return scenarios. But, you know, once again, from a stock and bond portfolio that kind of got roughed up this year, it has improved. I think we have more volatility to come, but all of your assets should not be in a stock and bond category. Not even half, actually. But that is going to cycle. And if you're invested properly, you understand that, but it also can become opportunity money as far as rebalancing and making adjustments. Another area is quantitative tactical, where money through our algorithms and historical research finds opportunities where the money can shift to what's in favor. And that's where we want to be, is like, what's in favor? Well, I want some money there. Well, that's what quantitative tactical can do for you, is have money that moves in that. You know, like, for example, for most of the year, our quantitative tacticals either been in cash or money markets, short-term or short-term treasuries in that case. Why? Because there's not been momentum. And those are two risk asset classes, but they differ quite a bit. And then there's another I'll define as buffers. And it's an ongoing strategy that we utilize through exchange traded funds, that buffers limit or reduce downside exposure, but also kind of caps the upside the other direction. And as it cycles, because those buffers are made up of positions that make adjustments throughout the year, kind of going to what is going on in the market there. And as, for example, if you have a 10% buffer, just to make a simple explanation of that, a 10% buffer and the market is down 8%, how much would your account be down? 0. If the market is down 10 and you have a 10% buffer, well, you're off 0. If you're off, once again, I go back, if you have a 10% buffer and you're off 8%, you're off 0. 10%, you're off 0. Now, if you're off 12% with a 10% buffer, you're off 2%. Now, say going, and so you understand how that was. So going to the upside, you're not going to get all the upside. So somewhere that's typically capped, subject to buffers, could be anywhere from, say, 8 to maybe 12%, but I'll just say 8 to 10% on the upside. So if the market goes up 20%, well, you're going to be up 10. If the market goes up 5, you're going to be up 5. So you kind of see where when you kind of look at caps and what historical returns are, and on the S&P 500, let me see, I had updated that number a couple weeks ago, but let me just kind of share with you an estimate. So let's just say over the past 25 years, which, in the front half of that was a lot of volatility. We've not seen much in the past 10 years until this year. So it's been a good run to spoil people. But when you kind of look at that old 25 years, yeah, the market on average is up a little better than 7% estimate. So when you kind of look at how many times did the market have significant gains, not that many out of the past 25 years. Most of them are in those single digit ranges. So you kind of, well, if it goes up 30%, I get that. Well, should all of your money be getting that? That's why we kind of have the multiple asset classes, some stocks and bonds, some tactical, some buffer, and some index linked in the mix. Once again, because everything rotates and you want to have money moving in your favor. Now, for more conservative clients, you may not want those stocks and bonds in there. It might be you have buffer, tactical, and index linked. And I know somebody's out there thinking, well, I want to be more on the aggressive side. I want to have mostly stocks and bonds. Well, you're probably not a fit for us. And I'll tell you where some people think, oh yeah, I'm fine with market movements, and even in discussions, they gave us numbers where they're fine with when we talked about, well, if we have a year of the market being down 15 or 20%, yeah, I'm fine with that. And you know what happens when the market's down? They're not. But this isn't something that happens all the time. But with that said, you may not realize, and this is just the noise is louder this year. It's gotten more attention. But data that I've given you in the past, the past 33 and a third years, we've had 20 times that the market has dropped 20% or more. So This is more of a norm than it is an anomaly. So you need to adjust for that. And then when you're looking at what's going on and things get noisy, you kind of look if you have all those asset classes working for you and look across that and say, gosh, I've really weathered this pretty good. Overall, we have not much impact. Or you might not see negative impact at all, subject to the timing. You know, I had a client discussion not too long ago, and he said, yeah, I got to look at it. I was kind of bothered by this year, but, you know, he said, I look back at 2 years, I'm up. 3 years, I'm up. 4 years, I'm up. And this was him when he was looking at his accounts and said, yeah, I get what's going on this year, but once again, with that diversification, not as much impact. So, you know, from a standpoint, I don't think aggressive investors are a fit for us, but those that like balance and want rotation and are not aggressive, you know, we probably have the right mix to help them to weather the seasons of the year and move forward. Because one of the things you've got to, at some point when you're accumulating assets, you have to think about this way. You're going to take income, and there's this sequence of returns. And if you are taking income from accounts that are always kind of in motion, like the sea, always in motion, moving up and moving down, and you're taking distributions, you know, think of it as reverse dollar cost averaging, where contributing into accounts helps take advantage of opportunities in the motion of the sea as you're growing accounts. But because of sequence of returns being negative and that motion of the sea, you're taking distributions, it accelerates spend down. So you should also have a portfolio built to where an area of the assets is going to, certain areas of the assets are better to take the distributions from, so you're not injuring the account when when you have that down motion happening. I know I'm throwing a lot at you here, but see a lot of thinking goes into this, and this isn't something we take lightly, and we put a lot of effort and constant research and constant education on this. You know, I probably, in the past 60 days, I've probably done somewhere in the neighborhood of 40, more like 50 hours of continuing education. I got more next week to do. So one thing about our industry is we're always being kept up to date on what's going on, always learning and being in position to put your interests first and look out for you. Hey, I've got another hour to go. Hang in there with me. We're going to talk about those health savings accounts when we come back from the break. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be back in about 6 minutes.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO-FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station.
Team USA is heading home. I'm Pam Huso. Fox News, knocked out by the Netherlands at the World Cup in Qatar 3-1.
For the Dutch, their hopes, their dreams of finally winning the World Cup will stay alive.
John Strong with the call on Fox. The Americans are winless in 12 games against European opponents at the World Cup since 2002. A political campaign that went into overtime is now in the home stretch.
This is the final weekend of campaigning before the runoff election for the Georgia Senate seat, currently held by Democrat Raphael Warnock. The incumbent holding several rallies Saturday. During an event in Atlanta, he questioned Republican challenger Herschel Walker's fitness for the job.
Georgia deserves a senator who actually knows what he's talking about.
Saturday on Fox and Friends, Walker said he is not the problem, But the policies supported by the president and Senator Warnock are.
Because of Joe Biden, we have these high gas prices. We have this high grocery prices. We have crime in the streets.
The runoff became necessary when neither candidate reached the 50% mark in last month's general election.
Fox's Kevin Uretsky. The number of illegal migrants crossing our southern border could climb higher. Later this month, a public health order that kept many migrants out will be lifted.
The American people deserve solutions, not sarcasm. And part of this issue is there is no leadership in the White House, which is fine. What needs to happen is the House needs to lead again.
Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez. In the new Congress, the House GOP will have a narrow majority. More nuggets are expected to be released today on Twitter about the social media platform suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story. America's listening to Fox News.
It all started with the brutal murder of a young married couple. Now, more than 40 years after the couple was found, investigators and forensic genealogists are cracking the case wide open to uncover a stunning second mystery.
Where's the baby? I said, well, wait, he had a baby?
We cross the country speaking with victims' families and those close to the case as we ask, what about Holly?
I just want to know what happened.
Available on FoxNewsPodcasts.com and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network. Listen to the all-new Brett Baier podcast featuring Common Ground, talking to lawmakers weekly from opposite sides of the political spectrum about the issues of the day and how Americans can find common ground in a politicized world.
That's just not happening on Capitol Hill. It takes leadership, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Along with all your Brett Baier favorites like the campaign, the candidates, the all-star panel, and much more. Available now at FoxNewsPodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
An attempt at intimidation leads to a guilty plea to a federal hate crime.
The Justice Department says 24-year-old Axel Cox of Gulfport, Mississippi, built a wooden cross in his front yard and propped it up so his black neighbors could see it before setting it on fire in December of 2020. Court records show he also used racially derogatory language against the family. He was charged with violating the Fair Housing Act and indicted this year in September. Now the Justice Department says Cox has pleaded guilty to a federal hate crime.
Fox's Lisa Brady. Cox faces up to 10 years in prison. An arrest in Houston tied to the fatal shooting of rap star Takeoff. Police say he was shot last month by Patrick Clark outside a bowling alley during a dispute over a dice game. Sergeant Michael Burrow called Takeoff an innocent bystander.
I can tell you that Takeoff was not involved in playing in the dice game. He was not involved in the argument that happened outside.
The shooting wounded 2 other people. A second man also faces charges. One major city dealing with a major crime wave could keep a curfew in place.
Philadelphia City Council members have unanimously passed a bill that would require teens between 14 and 17 years old to be in their homes by 10 p.m. every night. A similar measure was used to curb crime during the summer when violence often spikes. Opponents say curfews, though, strain police resources while officers then have to take time to unite young people with their families. It's still unclear whether Democrat Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney will sign the measure. Tom Graham, Fox News.
Staying in Philadelphia, embattled District Attorney Larry Krasner has filed legal action in response to what he calls unlawful impeachment proceedings. The progressive prosecutor is set to go on trial in January. Pam Huso, Fox News.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, a financial advisor here to answer your questions and help you win with your money.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Simple information from good people.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Could this be your Social Security, your 401k, pension, lump sum, your debt, student debt, credit cards?
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years. Sometimes I'll pull over to the side of the road and just listen.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Welcome. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. We've been doing this show for about 12 years. Welcome. Main purpose of this show is to help you improve financial decision making, and that's where we want to help you with that, whether it's investing, savings, and gosh, that's probably the most important thing, is to save there. Sometimes people get a little bit of savings. Well, where should I invest it? Well, you probably shouldn't be investing yet. You need to save enough to where you consider that an emergency account, because then you can start investing and not impact it. Why? Investments move like seasons of the year, you know. There's sometimes some seasons are a little troubling. So the markets at times can be a little bit troubling. You don't want to make decisions that lock in negative situation, like it being down. You don't want to lock that in. But that's why you should also be able to ultimately build in multiple asset classes. Download the Winning at Life app and become a part of the Winning at Life Nation. You can text, email, call the show through the Winning at Life app. We do the Wednesday Q&A, so you can get, as part of the Nation, you'll get on the mailing list for our newsletter, the Wednesday Q&A, and updates on the Ask Gregory podcast. So you should go and check out our podcasts as well. And that gives you a lot of resources and shorter bites than a 3-hour radio show. And I know you're probably all not tuning in to 3 hours of the show today, but shorter bites can help you absorb information. I really love podcasts, and I enjoy book reading, but I also enjoy article reading. And that's kind of, when you kind of look at that, that's kind of ranges probably 3 to 10 minutes of reading in bites. And I really enjoy that, absorbing knowledge consistently over time. You know, so we've got taxes are going to sunset, which means tax brackets are going to revert back to what they were before the Tax Cuts Job Act. So we don't know where Congress is going to be in that. So it turns out that we have kind of a mixed Congress. Senate's possibly going to be at 50-50, which means it's, because of the vice president, it would slant towards Democrats. The House going to be more on the Republican side. So some of you might say, well, that just means nothing's getting done. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's not. We're always needing stuff done, but we don't need the wrong things done. But from a standpoint, a couple of issues is, you know, heck, I would rather tax brackets not revert back to what they were. I like the brackets, and their lower percentage was not a lot, but you know, when it's 1%, 2%, 3% that it's going to perhaps revert back to higher, I would rather it not. I like the standard deduction where it's at. I would rather it not revert back. But you've got to have agreement at the White House and Capitol Hill for those things to get synced up and continue that way. But, you know, what the consensus is spend, 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 it seems like. We've increased the nation's debt quite a bit. over the past few years. Not that that's something new. It's been increasing for years. This is topics I've talked about 20 years ago of what was coming. And actually, it's accelerating past my projections as far as that goes. So part of what you've got to do is be tax efficient with your money. And that's tax deferral savings, that's Roth savings. It doesn't mean we're necessarily deferring it into the future to pay lower taxes, but we need to save money and be efficient with it and do it in a way that can we grow money tax-free? Can we position ourselves to be in lower tax brackets, possibly position yourself to be lower tax brackets? That's one reason we do a tax efficiency report for anybody that comes in for a fit visit, a relationship visit to check us out. If you move to step 2, which would be to come back and look at some various assessments that we'll work up for you. One of them is the SRA assessment. Another is a tax efficiency assessment. How would we build an income plan for you assessment? Those type of things, but I think it's real important. And inside of that tax efficiency report, we're looking for what is your margin. And I'll tell you, I hate to waste tax bracket margin because you're probably going to be paying more in the future on it. So why not make some adjustments and take advantage of what's left over in your tax bracket? If you want to join the conversation like Charlotte has, reach out to us at 504-2600-995. Welcome to the show, Charlotte from Walker.
Yes.
How can I help you today?
Well, I have a question. I'm already at the age to retire. I'm 69, and I have some concerns. I'm not drawing my Social Security yet. I'm drawing off of my ex-husband. But at 70, you have to draw your own, don't you?
Repeat that again for me one more time.
Okay, I'm already 69 years old,
Okay.
and I'm not retired yet, but I'm drawing Social Security off of my ex. But at age 70, don't you have to draw your own?
You do not have to, but if your benefit is going to be higher, yes. At 70, you need to switch to your benefit in that case. So you're...
Okay, one of the concerns...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
One of the concerns I have, I haven't retired yet, and I have a little bit of money that I need to move over from my deferred comp, which is only like $75,000. But also, I didn't want to retire until they worked out whether or not the windfall was going to be eliminated, because, of course, I'm turning 70 next year. That would mess me up if I retire, and I wouldn't be able to get the benefit from them changing the windfall, would I?
Yeah, and here I about to go to a break, but you could hang on through that. But I'm gonna just share with you real quick. I don't think that's going to be changed. Every year it gets in committee and it doesn't head anywhere, and there's a lot more to it than just saying it's going to change because of how it's built. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we come back from the break.
Okay.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hello, Gumbo Nation. This is Dwayne Stein with Mortgage Gumbo, and I want to thank you for almost 8 years. You've been listening to me weekly on Mortgage Gumbo, providing you with free education and options advice when it comes to home lending. And while these times may be unique, we've got this. For more than 30 years, I've been mortgage lending in your market, getting clients just like you the best loan at the best rate for the cheapest cost you qualify for. Let's chat. Visit mortgagegumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardraw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
If you do not have money set aside, you do not have retirement assets, you don't have significant savings, you're thinking, well, when should I turn on Social Security?
I recently
Possibly can, and as much as you can, because that means you defer Social Security as long as you can up to age 70, and you can keep working past that. That's fine. But age 70, you have to turn it on because you've maximized it there. And you've created the largest possible payment, and you're going to need all of that.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
You're listening to Winning at Life. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Welcome back. You know, in these times, I spoke about earlier, and maybe I didn't get to speak about it much, but Charlotte, hang in there just a minute. I'm going to give a thought here on budget audits. And I know we don't like to live by budgets or always have to look at that, but one of the things to think about doing is an audit. Do you have net gain, versus inflow versus outflow? Or are you in a negative situation? I know you probably don't want to do it because I don't want to see that. But, there's probably going to be some ways you could save some money, some things to eliminate, and at least you know where you stand. I think it is, one essence is look at it as a cash flow report. When you think of a budget, think of it as a cash flow report. Are you positive or negative each month, and work to be in a positive cash flow situation at the end of each month? And you could do it in a much simpler fashion, but maybe think about it that way, an audit, and think of it as a cash flow report. We had Charlotte from Walker give us a call, and she's it's a retirement question. She's age 69, and she's looking at making adjustments on her Social Security benefit because correct me, Charlotte, you're drawing your benefit currently. You're still working, but you're also drawing benefit from ex-spouse, correct?
That's correct.
And she brought up the windfall elimination provisions. So are you a government employee?
I was.
Okay. But are you no longer working at this time?
No, I am working. I thought if I moved out of the government part and went to private industry, I could make up part of the windfall. But I'm finding out that might not have been a good thing to do.
So how many years have you been in the private sector now?
Only 2.
2 years.
But I had my 40 quarters before then. It stopped. They said some of the years were not substantial income.
Yeah, and actually 40 quarters is not really the objective there. What helps you on that are the exceptions. Here's the exceptions to the windfall elimination. If you're a federal worker first hired after December 31st of 1983, you're an employee of a nonprofit organization who was exempt from Social Security coverage on December 31st of 1983. This does not apply to nonprofit organization, waived exemption, and did pay in Social Security taxes. Your only pension is a railroad pension. The only work you performed for which you didn't pay Social Security taxes was before 1957. And here's the magic one. You have 30 or more years of substantial earnings under Social Security. The bigger impact, if you're trying to shift, say, well, I'm not getting to 30 years because you've done 2. The bigger impact is kind of when you're beyond 10 years of in the private sector and keep moving forward. The even bigger impact is at 20 years. Then you're kind of making a dent in the impact of that. But being you're a government employee, and really what this comes down to it, from a Social Security standpoint, because you didn't pay into Social Security taxes, you look poor, but I'll just define it as you probably have an okay pension. Would that be accurate?
No, I don't have an okay pension because I was only there for 14 years, so my pension is only going to be $1,200.
Okay. So you worked there for 14 years, and you've been in the private sector for 2 years. You're 69, so you did not work all of your working years?
Not as substantial. No, I didn't.
Okay.
And I got a letter from the Social Security that, you know how they kind of pump you up to get an 8.7% increase. But then they came and said that I'm going to be affected by the income-related monthly adjustment, which now my Medicare Part B is going to cost me $497.50. So not only did they take the increase away, now I'm working at less money than what I had before the increase.
Yeah.
Have you heard of people getting those letters?
Well, on Medicare premiums, what your earnings were 2 years ago will impact the coming year's premium. And that tax efficiency report that we run, we look at things like that so people have an awareness. Because if you make a big income decision all of a sudden, like cashed out something, your income jumped up, it could boost your Medicare premiums for that year. It's not a permanent because they're going to look at the following year's income and make adjustments to that as well. One of the things you can do is go to ssa.gov or type in Social Security calculators, and you can go to their website. They have calculators that you can put in information and kind of look at your scenario regarding the windfall elimination, your working years, and your private sector years. And the biggest thing fundamentally is Social Security works on 3 tiers, and that first 1,000 of Social Security earnings, their goal is to replace about 90% of that. But for most of us, we're dealing with 3 tiers of income, and Social Security kind of replaces 40% of that. But being you've had a pension that you were a part of and didn't pay in Social Security, you look poor. And that's why you're being impacted. And, back when Social Security was started, they let government entities and such have opt-outs from participating into the public pension, which is Social Security. Here's what I think the fix is going forward is everyone should pay into Social Security. That's the shortfall for you that has happened is when you work there, you just had that state pension, you didn't pay into Social Security. If everybody's paying in, then we do not have the windfall elimination provision impacting people. That is the fix where everybody participates going forward there. And it should have been done that way for the beginning because you and many others are impacted, and it's not necessarily something you understood back then or planned for.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't help you, but do speak to Social Security about your age 70 benefit versus that.
Okay. Could I ask you about the money I need to move? Should I just leave it with deferred comp, or would it be more profitable for me to move it?
It depends on how that money's working there, what you're needing to do, and what your goals for that is. And I'll add something in is what is your risk tolerance? So do you have, besides Social Security, the pension, that $75,000, do you have other retirement assets?
I don't. I had more, but a messy divorce, took care of my retirement.
Sorry.
He didn't have a retirement, and I did, so he's going to get part of mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
In family planning, that is something to think about and talk about. It's almost like your spouse. Maybe you should both work in a way that provides that benefit and brings it to the household. I think some people work in a way that they don't want to contribute. Say, it'll work itself out. I'll take care of it later. And all of a sudden they get there and it's like, oh my gosh, I got to retire in a few years.
Yes.
I haven't done anything. And it might be the phase where they give up or don't do anything. And it's like, gosh, you've got to save. You're not going to have enough, but you got to save. You need to be careful with that $75,000. The other question I'll ask you is, do you have emergency money outside of that $75,000?
A little, not much.
Okay. So that's $75,000. A portion of that is emergency money. It is taxable money. Don't take that money out in a way that's going to create a taxable event. At 72, you're going to have to start taking required minimum distributions, probably from that account. If you do move it, you could move it over to an IRA, but it needs to be custodian to custodian. And then I, once again, think you need to be conservative because a big chunk of that money is emergency money. You are going to need that money down the road. And, once again, I'll suggest call my office at 504-832-9200 to have a further discussion. And we might not be able to work with you. It might not be a fit, but we can give you some guidance and suggestions as well, if that is the case on there. Just want you to make good decisions going forward and be careful with what you do with it. Thank you, Charlotte, for listening to Winning at Life and calling in today. Some of those situations are really tough. We're there when you're dealing, and that's one of the number one call over the years has been on Social Security of the 12 years. One that falls in the top 10 is windfall elimination. You're listening to Winning at Life.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
If you're unprepared for current market volatility and concerned about how it could impact you, take action now. I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you devise a strategy to navigate this market. Make sure you're still on track to reach your financial goals. Schedule a visit at GregoryRicks.com. We are Gregory Ricks & Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
We are living in historic times, extraordinary times. A lot of people need help right now, and I want you to remember your local food bank. Now, here in New Orleans, it's Second Harvest Food Bank. Over in Mobile, they've got Feeding the Gulf. But you can find your local food bank, feedingamerica.org. Food donations, monetary donations, or I know you've got some free time. Find your local food bank. Support your local food bank, especially in times like this. Do some good. feedingamerica.org.
Fox News, I'm Karen McHugh. GOP and even some Democratic lawmakers are concerned over the likely end of Title 42 restrictions and what that would do to an already chaotic situation along the southern border.
Arizona Senator Mark Kelly was recently asked by the Washington Post if he thinks fellow Democrats understand the frustrations many have. He replied, absolutely not even close. GOP leader Kevin McCarthy invited President Biden to travel with him to the southern border. 4 Democratic senators have written Biden's DHS chief to express their deep concern about the end of Title 42, a law that dates back to World War II. Even with Title 42 in place, the Border Patrol has seen record encounters on the borders.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson, Title 42's expiration date is December 21st. The U.S. men's soccer team dreams of a World Cup championship have ended. They lost to the Netherlands 3-1. America is listening to Fox News.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, live financial news talk radio. Questions, comments, or to be part of the show, 504-260-0995 is our number. Also, GregoryRicks.com is the website. And remember to connect with us through the Winning at Life app. Now let's go ahead and take a call. We've had a few waiting over the break. Jason in Mandeville is on the line. Hey, Jason, welcome to the show. How can we help you?
I recently inherited EE bonds. They haven't matured. They're at 23 years. I wanted to cash a couple. I was told I could cash them at my local bank, and that was not the case. A little bit of research I saw online, you could cash them, but I'm really not a fan of that. So I was just seeing what are all my options. How do I cash these EE bonds?
Well, did you take a look at treasurydirect.gov?
Yeah.
Because that's basically, that is the main place for them. For the banking system used to be the main place to deal with these, but now it is treasurydirect.gov. Direct. And there'll be implications of taxes when you do sell that. So if you are owner, you can sell them, and then on the gains of the accounts, you are the taxpayer for that as well. So that's the place to go to, unless you find a local bank that does handle that, and they all don't. So when somebody says, "Oh, you can go to your bank," well, it depends on the bank. But Treasury Direct is absolutely where you can go and reach out to them, and they've got a research center that gives you all the help that you need on that, and pretty much any question. That's where I go to regarding the e-bonds.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure about that going online. I would much rather prefer in person, but I guess that's the way of the world now.
Yeah. Now, as far as on note, and I'm here on the site looking at cash redeem a paper bond with a named survivor, Series EE or Series I, go to a financial institution that pays savings bonds and show adequate identification and any supporting documents that may be required before going. It might be helpful to call the financial institution to find out what identification and documents you need. Series HH, your local bond is not authorized to cash these bonds, but can help you submit your transaction. And then they've got another click on cashing Series HH savings bonds. And then Series E and Series I, those are no longer issued in paper form. The bonds are converted to electronic bonds in Treasury Direct. So, and it continues on and goes through if no survivor, but you are the named survivor, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much, that is the future of bonds, is over at treasurydirect.gov. So there'll be some help for you there.
I did, one relative did tell me they have another bank that they did cash theirs at their local bank. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, you could, and it also, some banks are funny about this. They'll, are you a client? Do you have an account here? That might be part of their deal as well in dealing with that. Could well be.
Right. Well, I mean, the bank that I went to, I banked with them, and they couldn't provide that service.
Yeah, they all don't do so on that. So it used to be everybody did, and now a few still do. But you have the online capabilities, and reach out to Treasury Direct. They've got plenty of information.
And they'll cut you checks, and what do I do with the bond? Obviously, I got to send them the bond, or...
Well, the information's there on that. You're basically giving up the bond, or it's going to be converted to electronic. Yeah, I would have to read into the details specifically to that, on transitioning. But you are going to be able to get your money out of it. That's kind of a normal thing that happens. Either the owner's cashing it, even if they've held it for a long time, and there's a lot of people out there with paper bonds. And they used to could go to the bank, or they would get them from the bank, and they no longer can in this case.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the information. Yeah, I'm going to head to the treasury.org. What's the address?
It's treasurydirect.gov. Treasurydirect.gov. And there's a lot of resources there. So if you're wanting to sell or cash in one or buy some more, and those I-bonds are pretty popular right now too because of the rate that they're paying. So, okay, awesome. Thanks for calling, Jason. Have a great weekend.
Yes, sir.
I have a follow-up question about that discussion I just heard about the spousal benefits. And I thought I had heard you say previously, sometime in the past, that the marriage had to last at least 10 years.
Correct.
And the reason I'm asking this question is because I have a sister-in-law that was married to the same guy like 3 times. Neither of the marriages lasted 10 years. the combined three marriages total up to 10 or more years, and she's got somebody at the Social Security telling her that she's going to be able to get those spousal benefits. Is that correct?
They told her she would be able to?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they are the ultimate authority, but if she has total time in for 10 years is what it takes. It doesn't kill the clock on that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
but you've got to have 10 years married to that person.
Okay. Okay, and it doesn't have to be consecutive.
No, but let's change the question. What if she was married to 3 different guys and they all totaled 10 years? No, that doesn't get it done in that way.
Okay.
But
yeah,
gosh,
the same guy.
that is, well, and if that was her purpose to get 10 years in, she succeeded. If that was the purpose. Otherwise, we kind of wonder why. Just saying.
Right. Okay. Well, that's
Awesome.
what I need to know.
Yeah. Thanks for calling. Appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Greg.
Yeah. That's kind of lighthearted take on that from that standpoint. Liz Taylor was famous for marrying a bunch of guys, and one of them she did marry, I believe, twice. Could have been more on that. Interesting. And I've had conversations where it's kind of like, which one? I was married to 2 different men for 10 years and divorced after 10 years each time. So then that person would have choices in that case from that standpoint. If you have a financial situation, want to call in 504-2600-995. That's what Bill from Laurel, Mississippi did. How can we help you, Bill?
Thank you, sir. Enjoy your show. Listen every week. I had a question about spousal benefits that y'all have been talking about. Recently divorced. It was my understanding that my wife could draw off of my Social Security now, and of course at the time of my death. Is that correct?
Yes. As long as y'all were married for 10 years, she can draw off of your work record and it has no impact on you. So she could draw while you're living as a spousal benefit, and if you die before her, she could draw on the survivor benefits if it's more than, both cases it would need to be more than her work record.
Right. Well, mine is substantially more than hers. I'm basically trying to get her more cash flow. And even though we are divorced, it was my understanding. I called Social Security and talked to an individual and said, yeah, she could draw 50% of my benefit. She contacted them. They said no.
Well, let's dig into that. So she's already drawing Social Security?
Yes.
Okay. And
she's 70. She's turning 70. I'm 73.
And you've been divorced for more than 2 years?
No.
Okay, there's why right there. It's got to be a 2-year period for that divorce. That's the hang up right there. She's got to wait 2 years after the divorce.
Okay. After 2 years, she can apply.
Yeah, and if that benefit's larger than hers, she'll be switched to it, but it's got need that 24 months knocked out in that case.
Very good.
Awesome.
Well,
Glad we could find that. I'm going to plug what we kind of do as my day job during the week. We help you with your money. We're money managers, we're strategists, income planners, investments. Another is healthcare. whether it's long-term care or Medicare, and having supplements and such. Estate planning. And then the fifth part is tax planning, creating tax efficiency. Regardless of the area you're listening to across the country, we can do video meetings. We can start with a phone call, do Zoom meetings. As far as in office, I have an office in Gulfport, Mississippi, in Mandeville, Baton Rouge, and also in Metairie, Louisiana. So the office number is 504-832-9200. The website is gregoryricks.com. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Oh, Rover, you have fleas again? Prevent fleas and ticks from setting up shop in your backyard. Those bloodsuckers can bite up to 400 times a day and carry nasty diseases like typhus and tapeworms. Give Rover some relief and contact Mosquito Joe. Their mosquito control services also kill and prevent fleas and ticks. Let Mosquito Joe be your first line of defense against those blood-sucking pests. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income if you contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
At the core, I always tell people, I'm not here to make you rich. I'm here to make sure you don't run out of money, that you don't run out of income. That's how I look at my job. Over time, saving, making good decisions can make you rich. But what you have is, what is your core thing? Your core thing should be making money. And your core thing, you should set aside money to work elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to put it to risk. You could put it to safety. But your core thing makes you money, or you tell me your core thing is the market, day trading, or gambling in the market. It shouldn't be. You should have a core thing that makes you money, and you peel some off for the future when you're done with your core.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
And we're back. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, live financial news talk radio. Questions, comments are to be part of the show, 504-260-0995, or you can check out the website, GregoryRicks.com. Well, let's get back to the phone lines. We've had a few holding over the break. We have Ellis from Macomb, Mississippi. Hey, Ellis, how can we help you today?
With the way the market conditions are now about fixed rate in annuities, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'll tell you, my common thing is I dislike most. Well, I feel that way about stocks because there's 4,600 stocks out there and 97% of market cap is made up of less than 1,000 stocks. I dislike most annuities, but there's unique structuring on some to where we can get the growth, no downside exposure. There's not going to be fees. We can lock in the growth each year when there's growth and get that to compounding. And they can be income tools as well. I believe it's part, well, you know I believe in it because it's part of the Invest 50-50 philosophy that we can take people through when they come to the office, get into the weeds and show them how this works, and blending it gives them a higher probability of success. Do you have some additional questions?
No, you answered it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for calling, Ellis.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. Look, Social Security, I'm 65, 66 next year. So my question is, if I took my Social Security now, if I took my Social Security now, would it go to full at 66 and a half, or would I be locked in at what I took now?
You're locking in when you start it. You have a year to undo it.
Okay.
But when you turn it on, you are deemed to have locked it in at that point. It's not going to start giving you a reduced amount and then it takes that early penalty away from you. You're locking in that discount, that reduced amount going forward on your work record.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
I appreciate
awesome. Thanks for calling and thanks for listening to Winning at Life Radio. So let's go back to the Winning at Life hotline, and the number to call to join the conversation here on the show, which is kind of the magic, is the caller's 504-2600-995. We have Daniel from Pearl River. How can we help you today, Daniel?
Hey, good afternoon, Gregory. I have a question concerning I-bonds and the Fed raising interest rates. I've always heard like when the rates go up, the payoff on bonds go down. Does that work the same way with I-bonds?
Well, here is what we're referring to on I-bonds, and they're a little bit different instrument. And, and you can go over to treasurydirect.gov, and that's actually where you've got to go to. You're going to have to go there to buy or redeem.
Right.
And one thing is you're not able to put much money into those, by the way. It's electronic. $10,000 is the total each calendar year. If you do paper, it's $5,000 total for each calendar year. And if you're getting a tax refund, that can go into an I-bond. And the I-bonds earn interest for 30 years unless you cash them first. You can cash them after 1 year, but if you cash them before 5 years, you lose the previous 3 months of interest.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit different instrument versus munis and such there, because you'll have par values that will adjust. So basically this simplistically is putting money to work and it's earning interest. You're not buying in at a discount rate. So it's a combination of a fixed rate that stays the same for the life of the bond and an inflation rate that is set twice a year. For the bonds issued from November 2021 through April of 2022, the combined rate is 7.12%. So that's currently where it's at, but that also kind of tells you it's about to change. Yeah, and it's probably may well go up a little bit if I was predicting a little bit, but we're going to know that here shortly what the rate is for the next 6-month period. But once again, if we could do this short term and get 7%, we'd all pile in, wouldn't we? Except it doesn't quite work like that, but you can limit it. But if you have excess cash that you don't mind putting to work for a while, and it's kind of almost telling you this is 5-year money because we're going to take back some interest if you pull it out before 5 years, and you can leave it and keep doing this as long as 30 years. So it's a good thing to have in the mix, I believe.
Well, can I ask you one more question?
Yes, sir.
Did I hear you say the maximum per calendar year was only 10,000 electronic?
Correct.
Huh.
That's always good. Man, I want to push a lot in on that one, and no, it's 10,000 on electronic, 5,000 in cash. So there is a limit to that sweet deal there. So
yeah, because that over 7% is pretty sweet. Well, okay, Gregory, you've helped me out a whole lot, and you have a great day. I appreciate it.
You as well. Be safe out there and be well. And once again, that's treasurydirect.gov. You can go to get more information on these I-bonds. Kind of popular right now. Tool with inflation kind of helps keep a little bit money up with the inflation. So let's continue with the phones. And Art dialed us up at 50483. Now I'm giving the office number. 504-2600-995. Art from Covington. Welcome to Winning at Life. How can I help you?
Thank you very much. Listening to the conversation you were having while I was holding might have started off with the question I have now. I've got probably $150,000 in cash, and I don't know what to do with it at this time. Every day I see the market going down. What would you suggest?
Do you have other investments?
Yes.
Okay. But is this in excess of your emergency money or part of your emergency money? Or all
I would say it's in excess. I would say it's in excess, but I'm 80 years old, so I'm not looking for a 10-year investment.
Right. How much would you say all of your savings and investments total? Just give me a generalization. You don't have to be exact.
About 400.
Okay. So this is actually a good portion of the 400,000 then. That's kind of liquid. Do you have any of that other 250 in stocks or anything like that?
Yes, it's in stocks and some bonds.
Okay. Is there any purpose? You're 80, so you're not likely to want to buy some land in a year or two, but then you might on the other hand, because you can, you probably look at life that's very full and extended, and I'm assuming you're of pretty good health for 80. So the outlook is there's something you're thinking of buying or you need to do in a year or two or three.
No, I have some land actually that I'm trying to sell, so I'm not interested in anything like that. That could be a long-term
So
purchase.
One of the tools I would look at in your case, and it's always important to understand age. And age tells us also a couple things. It probably tells us that you're more on the lower risk side. Your tolerance for risk is going to go down with age, and you should be more conservative on the back end. But it also gives me an idea of how long do I have this money to do a job in correlation to others. So you've got some other longer view money. This is more shorter term. So this kind of sounds like 2 or 3 year money to me. So one of the things I would look at is what can we do short term? And one of the things I look at is short term fixed interest annuities. I kind of call they're MIGAs technically. I call them CD annuities, where we get a rate for what's 2 or 3 or 5 year. Do you want interest coming out, or you're good to let it pile up and roll over? And that's almost a way to ladder money. That would be kind of one of the first things I would look at, or what are the opportunities? And they're probably improving because interest rates are going up. And with rising interest rates, do we really want to lock in that for a lot of years? Because of your age, no. And heck, I know interest rates are going up, so I think I would look at the 3 to 5s and see how they help you. Does that help you any?
Okay. Yeah, sure it does.
Awesome.
Have a great weekend. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Firm offers insurance services. Gregory Ricks & Associates is an independent financial services firm.
Woohoo!
A variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Gregory Ricks & Associates are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for a financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Gregory Ricks & Associates is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Gregory Ricks & Associates. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences, including, but not limited to, a need for additional tax withholding or estimated tax payments, the loss of certain tax deductions and credits, and higher taxes on Social Security benefits and higher Medicare premiums. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. Neither AE Wealth Management nor advisors providing investment advisory services through AE Wealth Management recommend or facilitate the buying or selling of cryptocurrencies. Third parties and guests of the show are not affiliated with, nor do their opinions reflect those of Gregory Ricks & Associates or AE Wealth Management. AE Wealth Management provides services without regard to political affiliation, and the views of individual advisors are not necessarily the views of AE Wealth Management. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
WRNO FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station. Available everywhere on our free iHeart radio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.